Hello people, I'm Bharat Archarya. Welcome to a new lecture. So today I'm introducing the whole subject of COA for you. I'm going to lay a common platform for everybody. You may be a topper, a mid-ranker or a low ranker, it doesn't matter. I'm giving you all a common platform, clearing all your concepts, solidifying the right ones, removing the wrong ones so that all of you all are at the same platform to start learning COA. Alright, you are preparing for GATE, you are in CS and IT branches. This lecture is for you. You already know how important COA is. I made a video last week telling you the breakup of all the subjects and their weightage in the GATE exam. Please watch that video in case you have any questions about how to give GATE exam, when to give, who should prepare, etc. etc. It's a 1 hour video clearing all the doubts. Now, today's lecture is about COA. By itself, it's worth 10 marks. COA also overflows into OS, that is operating systems, and into DL, that is digital logic. I'm going to be teaching a little bit of those subjects as well because that's how you get the full picture of COA. And then if you count all of that, the total weightage in the exam from everything that I'm going to teach will be worth 12, 13, 14, going up to 15 marks. Yes, making it the biggest subject of GATE. GATE exam is 100 marks, 15 marks are for aptitude, keeping only 85 for all your computer engineering subjects, and in out of that 10 to 15 marks alone are from what I am going to teach you, and the foundation for that is in today's lecture. The purpose I am keeping this lecture on YouTube is so that, first of all, whether you join our course or not, you all have one platform so that all your misconception, your doubts are cleared and you are capable of launching yourself to learn COA. And secondly, I want to show you what you get in the course. What you see over here is exactly what you will get, and of course plus more, that is a whole course on COA, in fact the whole course on CSIT, GATE CSIT. And here the batch is starting from 21st Feb. I'll talk about the batch later. First let's focus on what we are discussing. At the end I'll introduce the batch to you and my discount and what comes free with it, but that's much later. Now let's begin. You all have studied COA in some or the other semester, probably second, third, fourth semester. It generally comes in those semesters. Maybe you remember, maybe you don't, maybe you loved the subject, maybe you didn't. So many people say COA is one of the toughest subjects of engineering and toughest subject of GATE. Rubbish. It's not. I believe strongly and honestly that all of you all can get full marks in the questions asked for COA because it is pinpoint. Firstly, the theory part is extremely interesting and shows you how your computer works. Don't you want to know that? Tell me, imagine a life without computers today. Everything we do, including you watching this video, including you filling your application, filling your job application, and everything, all your entertainment, all your connections revolve in and around a computer. Whether it's your PC, whether it's your laptop, whether it's your phone, or whether it's any gadget that you wear. COA tells you how it works from inside. Yes, everybody has a layman's idea of about how these works, but a person who has championed COA knows exactly what goes on when you switch from one app to the other, when you install an app, when you do some calculations, and so on and so forth. And that's the mastery that you will get by the time the course will finish. Now, since we are talking about computers, let's start right from the beginning. Imagine a computer system. There are various parts in a computer. Keyboard, mouse. Is all the action taking place in the keyboard and mouse? No, no, no. They are just input devices. Okay, printer, monitor. Are they doing all our programs? No, no. They are output devices. Keyboard, mouse, printer, monitor are called the I/O section. They are used to give inputs and outputs. Come on, let's begin. This is called the I/O section, the simplest part of a computer. It has keyboard, mouse, printer, monitor, touch screen for modern devices, antenna for communication, speakers, microphones, the motor for vibration, etc. They are all I/O devices. So that's your section called I/O. Does it do our programs? No. But is it important? Absolutely. This is how you give inputs and outputs. No processing here. You want to add two numbers, you enter them on the keyboard. Is the keyboard adding them? No. Is the mouse adding them? No. Is the printer adding them? No. No. They are just used to give inputs and produce outputs. That's where their role ends. Please tell me, is that clear? Now, look at your phone. Probably you're watching this video on your phone or your computer, either way. Just look at the device you have and try to identify all the I/O devices. Your screen, if it's a phone. Your screen is not just an output device, it's also an input device because it's a touch screen. Your microphone on which you speak is an input device to the system. The speaker, which produces the sound, is the output device. The antenna that connects to the network, to the Wi-Fi, to the Bluetooth, etc. It's an I/O device because you send data as well as receive data. Your camera is an input device. The flash is an output device. You understand what I'm saying, right? So every computer system in some form or the other has I/O devices, even the most basic appliances. All the buttons over here are input. The LCD panel is output so that you can see what you have pressed. You don't keep guessing. And the antenna, which sends the signal, more like a transmitter over here, is an output device. Rest is power supply. Anyway, so you all understand? Every computer has them in one form or the other. They don't run our programs. They are just used to give inputs and produce outputs. Then, there is another section which stores all the information. That is called memory. The purpose of memory is to add, no. Subtract, no. Change movies, no. Make movies with a better ending, no. As much as you wish, you downloaded a movie and kept it for years manifesting, hope the ending changes, one day something else happens, no, it won't. Anything stored in the memory will not change by itself. No processing takes place inside the memory. The purpose of memory is just to store. What does it store? Let's not just be basic. Let's start going a little advanced. Yeah, that's the way I like to teach. I start from absolute basics, and then as soon as you are in the groove, the level will keep increasing and will go very high. So keep paying attention. Don't lose concentration. Okay, this one video will give you the whole platform you need to learn COA. Come, pay attention. So what does your memory store? You open your computer's C drive. There are thousands and thousands of files. What do they store? Each file is either storing programs or storing data. Simple. The first serious point I'm making today. Every information stored in your computer is either a program or some data. Please tell me, is this clear? Let's take examples. You have WhatsApp in your phone. What is WhatsApp? App. It's an app. App means application program. So it's a program. You all understand that? The messages that come in WhatsApp, what are they? Data. Do you understand? Similarly, Microsoft Word is a program. The Word documents we create, data. Excel, program. The spreadsheets we create, data. What else? Your camera app, program. The images that you click, data. Instagram, program. The feed that you get, data, and so on. Now I think you got the point. So every file, you open your computer, you put your finger on any file. It's either program or data. Are we crystal clear? You got to understand what is program, what is data. Is the difference also clear? Now with real world examples. Now what you notice in the last 2 minutes is how you will see the whole course. I like to teach everything with real world examples. Every topic I'll teach you, I'll show you how it affects you when you are on your various apps, wherever it's applicable. Whether you're watching a cricket game, then the score updation, the faster it gets is because the better data manipulation that's going on. This is what you understand when you learn number systems and the ALU and data processing. Anyway, you'll get into that. So I keep using real world examples because what's the point of not connecting the dots? You are learning the science that makes your phone and your computer works. So you just need to connect them. And once you establish that connection, you don't have to by heart anything because then the concept has gone right into your brain. This comes from 20 plus years of teaching. Yes, I said I'll talk about myself later. 20 plus years. I passed in the year 2000. Since then, have been working as well as teaching. Now, anyway, we'll come to that. So because of that experience, the interaction that you had with students, you know where the students connect with the various concepts. And I use all that experience when I take a lecture. It's all there in the mind. No script, of course. It just comes from the mind. Now, coming back. So what does the memory do? It stores. What does it store? Programs and data. No programs will run by themselves. No data will change by itself. It's just used to store. So to think about it, I/O doesn't do any processing. It's just used to give inputs and produce outputs. Memory doesn't do any processing. It's just used to store. Then where does all the action take place? The processor, the microprocessor, one of the other subjects that I teach. I teach various subjects apart from COA, microprocessors, microcontrollers, the brains that run all of these embedded systems and computer graphics and so on and so forth. Coming back. So, which microprocessors are you familiar with? Give me an example. Don't look here and say 8085, 8086. You never used them. Those were there in the 1970s. Today, Core i3, which is the company that makes them? Intel, yes. So Intel is, at least till now, is the market leader, has been for the decades. But the future doesn't look like that. You've heard of NVIDIA, you've heard of Apple, of course, the Apple chip ARM processors, which is the model on which both Apple and NVIDIA is based. I teach that too. So coming back, the processor is the one that executes all the programs, and by executing programs does all the action. Get another thing clear, like how you understood everything is programs and data. Next serious point, every action that takes place in your computer is because of a program. Are we clear? Everything your computer does, whether it plays a song or plays a movie, or you're on Instagram, or you're sending a message, or reading a message, or deleting a message, or taking a screenshot, whatever you're doing is a program. Are you clear? If a washing machine is a computer system in its own right, what is the processor doing inside? Is it washing our clothes? No. It's running a program that throws soap, throws water, rotates the clothes, and does adjust the speed so that the clothes are washed the way we want to. A microwave or an oven is again a computer system in its own might. Is the processor inside really cooking our food? No. What is it doing? Rotating the dish, maintaining the temperature, so showing the seconds, counting the seconds, ringing the alarm when the food is cooked, and so on. They are all controlled by a program. Who writes all the programs? You, the CSIT engineers who are taking the world so far ahead. That revolution, the computer revolution that's happened in the last 40 years, me extremely proud of being a part of it as an engineer also, and as a teacher also for so many years, training students who are now since years in various big companies, and so will be you. God bless. The blessings of a teacher are another thing apart from the knowledge that he and she gives. Anyway, coming back. So, the computer engineer who writes the program and this system that executes, stores the programs and handles the I/O, it is this combination that is driving the world forward. Here, you need to understand, in the computer, the whole computer is not running the program. It's the processor that runs the program, it's the memory that stores all the programs and data, and it is the I/O that gives the inputs and outputs for programs as well as for data. Are you clear? This whole machine acts as your computer and does the operation. In fact, you can see one thing very clearly from the diagram itself. See, many things teachers teach, many things strike us by itself. Just if you're a keen student and you're not just looking here, you're looking around, you would have noticed that there are three objects, but there are only two connections. They are called buses. I'll come to them. You can see a bus here, you can see a bus here. There's no direct connection over here, which means who controls everybody? The processor. Processor interacts with memory, processor interacts with I/O. Memory and I/O do not directly interact with each other unless you use a concept called, come on, DMA. This is what is DMA. You have this in your syllabus. Direct memory access, transferring data directly between memory and I/O. That, of course, is also a process initiated by the processor. I will teach you when the time comes, but just wanted you to know what DMA is. It's the back door, the direct transfer between memory and I/O, but of course still happens by a process started by the processor, by the microprocessor inside. Anyway, so coming back. So simply speaking, this is where the action takes place, this is where the storage happens, and this is the input and output section. If you want to see some examples of modern devices in a modern computer, processors are like i3, i5, i7, the Intel processors, still the market leader in terms of numbers, but in terms of technology, ARM processors have gone far ahead. Manifestations of ARM processors are Apple Silicon, M1, M2, your iPhone processors, that is what is the Apple, the Bionic, A12, A13, A14, A15 Bionic, whichever processor you have. Similarly, Snapdragon, the Android processor, and so on. They are all manifestations of an architecture called ARM. You get a hint about it in CO when you see RISC and CISC processors. They're all RISC-based processors, and they're extremely fast as compared to CISC-based processors, which originally predominantly are Intel model. Anyway, I will teach you that. If these words sound crazy, don't worry at all. I'm here when the time comes. Each thing you will come to know. Right? I'm just telling you what are the processors. So in terms of numbers, these are the market leaders. In terms of technology, on the other hand, superiorly powerful, the ARM processors released by Apple, Snapdragon, and so on, and NVIDIA, of course, and the direction where India is headed. If you want to be at the top of the next technology curve, AI, ML, and processor technology, chip manufacturing, are the three places where the government is going to put maximum focus. If you are a professional in these three, the route for all of them is our beautiful subject CO. All these are branches from this subject. You master these subjects, you are in the cream spot. You're in that zone where your career can take off, provided you do it the correct way. Anyway, of course, there are others also. Databases, full stack development, core programmers, graphics, they all are there. They've always been there. But the upcoming, or rather they are there, are the technologies which are at the peak right now and have a big horizon for the next 5, 10, 15 years are the ones I just mentioned. Anyways, so those are the processors. I/O section, keyboard, mouse, printer, monitors, touch screen, and microphones, speakers, etc. So you understand the I/O section. And memory. Memory is a whole bouquet. There are so many different objects. So when I say the word memory, I'll come to the processor later in today's lecture. First, I want to spend a lot of time on memory, because this is where lots of wrong ideas are there in the minds of students. And with those wrong ideas, if you go ahead, then you will be like others saying COA is tough. It's not tough. But if your basics are wrong, how do you expect to understand the most challenging questions of the most challenging exam of engineering? Then your basics have to be right. So that is why I'm going to spend a good time on this. So let's begin. We're talking about memories. The moment I say the word memory, lots of devices come to our mind. If this was in live classroom, an actual classroom. So because I've taken lectures in physical classes for like 20 plus years, and all the teachers in our team are teachers who are taught in physical classrooms, as opposed to teachers who are just taught in a camera. No offense to anyone. Every teacher deserves respect. I'm here to respect all the teachers. I won't say anything against any teacher, but there is a stark difference between someone who's just taught a camera and someone who's actually taken lectures in classrooms. When you teach a camera, you have only one vision of the subject, your idea, your way or the highway. This is the only thought process you have. Of course, the concept is only one, the truth is only one, but it can be approached in numerous ways. When you take lectures in classrooms, you may teach in this approach, but there will be some student who will ask a doubt which will force you to think the subject from an entirely different perspective. Okay, next lecture somebody else asks another doubt, and that's when the whole flower opens up. That's when you understand everything about the subject. So the knowledge base of a teacher who has really taught in classrooms for years and years is very different from someone who teaches on a camera. But like I said, I'm not here to diss anyone. Respect to all teachers. More power to everybody. So you're doing a noble job, you're teaching. That's what matters. Some students say, then why are you charging? That's a very different topic altogether. Of course, there is commerce. Without commerce, how will any of this work? Teaching is not my hobby or anyone's hobby. It's a profession. We are professional teachers. So, of course, there is a charge to it. Anyway, coming back, that's just the question that keeps coming to my mind. Now, so, like I said, when you say the word memory, a lot of objects come to your mind. Think about all of them, make that list, and answer. Was the first thing that came to your mind a hard disk? Floppy, in case you've heard of it? CD, yeah, that's a storage device. Come on, give me more. I'm giving names. You may please write comments. That I'll read all the comments. I always do. Memory, CD, DVD, pen drives. Yes, you could think of that. They are also storage devices. Cache memory. Did anyone say cache memory? That's awesome. How do you spell cache? C-S-H. C-A-C-H-E. Yeah, some people call it cache or catch. It's cache. Okay, so you have cache memory, you have all these memories. I still want to see students telling me the two basic memories, primary memories, exactly, RAM and ROM. If I said the word memory and the first thing that came to your mind was RAM and ROM, you and I are on the same page. For a computer engineer, IT engineer, memory means RAM and ROM. Everything else is secondary. I mean it, literally. Everything else is secondary memory, and then there is cache. The primary memory is RAM and ROM. So let me show you a picture of the memory. Like I said, we're going to spend good time on it now. When I, as a student, heard about all of these memories, when I was in your place, the first question that came to my mind, which I'm sure will be there in your mind too, why are there so many memories? Why such a big bouquet, which is called memory hierarchy? Why? Why can't we just have one memory and finish it off? Why can't we just have a hard disk and replace everything by a hard disk? No, we can't. All of these memories have a specific role to play. The next 10 to 15 minutes is clearly understanding what is the role of each memory. Once we finish that, you should be crystal clear, no one can replace the other. Each memory is here for a specific purpose. All right, come on, let's begin. The original memories, when this whole computer system started way back in 70s with our dear processors, 8085, 8086 and all, was primary memory, only primary memory, talking about just RAM and ROM. Why secondary memory came? I will come to that. I'll come to that within 5 minutes. First, let's talk about primary memory. Now, in primary memory also there are two memories, RAM and ROM. Two, not one, two. So why do we need both RAM and ROM? Why can't we just have one? Let's understand. The full form of RAM, it is ridiculous if an engineering student appearing for GATE doesn't know these full forms. Okay, it's ridiculous. I'm not judging you. You don't know, you come here to learn. But you asked me, sir, was it okay that I didn't know? No, not at all. You should know these. These are things school kids know. RAM stands for random access memory. ROM stands for read-only memory. So let's start with ROM. Read-only memory means you cannot write, you can only read. So the information that is stored inside can be read millions of times, but you can't change it. That means the information inside is permanent. Like the print in my hand, etched permanently, won't change. Now that's a bad thing or a good thing? Both. The good thing is that it's permanent. That means it does not depend upon power supply. You switch off the computer, the information will hold itself. You switch it on again, you'll get back the same information every time you read from it. So the good thing is that the information is not lost when you switch off the power supply. It's not dependent on power. But the bad thing is it's permanent. It can't be changed. Do we need to change information on a day-to-day basis? On your phone, on your computer, do you store new things every day? Yeah. What it is not my concern. How you use technology is up to you. I'm here to teach you technology. Come on. So you need writable form of memory. Am I correct or no? See, I'm talking straight from here. I've come to your phone. In your phone also you need both. And it's I take mock interviews for Unacademy again. We run this exercise every year during the placement season, August, September, October, where we train students for their placements. And we don't take it for our students alone. We take it also for outside students. And that's how you gauge the knowledge base of those students. And it's appalling when students can't answer this basic question. What do you think will happen in an interview? They will ask you some random formulae. No, they'll see how much of your knowledge is practical. How much do you understand your engineering in the real world? A very simple question, what memory is there in your phone? Most students can't answer that. And come on, you want to take a job, you want the company to give you lakhs of salaries month after month, you can't answer something so basic and you call yourself a computer engineer. No, it doesn't work like that. So that table during that interview clearly decides which are the students who have really learned engineering, which are the ones who just scrape through or try to mug up their way and just get a certificate. An engineer just by qualification is of no use. You have to understand the process, the science behind it. Okay, come back. So I'm teaching you that, don't worry. So you can't have only ROM because you can only read from ROM, you can't write. RAM on the other hand, very different. Random access memory. Why it's called random access, you'll come to know. Not because you can read and write. There's another reason. It's not sequential, it's random. You'll come to know when I teach you RAM cell. But the point is, in RAM, you can read as well as write. Which means when you buy it, it's blank. You store information. You read that information. You can change it as many times. Read it, write it, change it, read it, write it, millions and millions of times. Are you clear? So this is your writable memory. This is where you store new things in a computer. So the good thing is that it is changeable. But the bad thing again is the same. It's changeable, that means it's not permanent. That means it's stored at runtime using power supply. Yes, there are technologies. You either use capacitors or use transistors. I'll teach you both. Using power supply, this information is stored, which means the information is temporary. You switch off the power supply, the information vanishes. That's why it's also called volatile memory. You heard the word volatile, right? Volatile means it just evaporates. So of course it doesn't evaporate. It's just a way of saying it, a phrase. So it's called volatile memory because the information goes off the moment you switch off the power supply. So what do you want? You want RAM or you want ROM in a computer? Come on, both. That's it. That's what I'm driving you to. Right now you said you want these two. When I show you the whole hierarchy, you will tell me you want all of them. Once a student understands that every memory is required, that's when the student has really understood the concept of memory. Each memory serves a purpose. You can't have only RAM because the moment you switch it off, all the information is gone. The moment I remove the battery of this device, power supply is gone. When I put the battery back, it should still work. the program should still hold. The default temperature and the default fan speed should still hold. That means that information will be stored in ROM. At the same time, I don't work only on defaults. I can change the temperature. When I change the temperature, it should stay to that. That means that information should be stored in a writable form. So it also needs RAM. Yeah, even something like this needs both of them, ROM as well as RAM. So this is called primary memory. This is how original computers worked. Then this is great. Then why do we have all the other memories? Why was secondary memory introduced? This is the era of late 70s and a whole generation, revolution waiting to happen. The 80s revolution where computers became a household thing. In India, of course, a little later, probably 90s, by 90s. I'm a kid whose schooling was done in late 80s, early 90s. I learned computers in my 6th standard and had one by the time I reached college. So yes, talking from real world practical point of view, by mid 90s, computers were in everyone's house, or at least most houses. And after that, of course, it's come in our palms and in our pockets. So coming back, what happened in the 80s? Why was secondary memory required? To increase the speed? No, it's got nothing to do with speed. To increase the storage capacity. Secondary memory brings in massive storage capacity. Why was it required? Because two big minds came into the computer industry and revolutionized computers, created this whole computer revolution. Whom am I talking about? The two people who took two different directions but took this industry forward. Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, exactly, Apple and Microsoft. So these were the minds who decided that if you want computers to be a household product, why? Because they wanted to sell. So like I said, commerce is always there. Without commerce, nothing works. But in that process, the intention was to spread technology. So if they wanted computers to be household products and everyone to use them, computers needed to do more interesting things. Earlier, computers were only used for number crunching and for writing documents. Not something that everybody would be interested in doing. But then the moment games came in, the moment images came in, yeah, movies, songs, media, basically, entertainment. The moment this came into computers, they became a household product. And today, the products, the computers that we have in our watches, in our phones, etc., their primary goal is not number crunching and is not creating documents. It's entertainment. That's what it got forward. And of course, as you become a professional, then your goal will shift. You will use your same computer for a variety of different things. But for now, today, you understand what I'm saying. The media that comes in a computer requires a lot of space. You tell me, okay, now don't try to repeat what I'm saying or don't try to follow my lead. Give your own answer. Which is a bigger file? If I'm sure you've used computers, so you're basically familiar with files. A Word file or an image? Absolutely, an image. A Word file in its smallest form. Hello, sir. Today I may not be coming for the lecture. Thank you for awesome teaching. So and so. A file like this, as an example, would hardly be a few kilobytes. An image, you take your phone, you click the most basic image, it goes into hundreds of kilobytes, nearing a megabyte. Are you clear? So images are much bigger than Word files. What is bigger? An image or song? A song. An image is a few hundred KB going up to an MB. A song is a few megabytes, 2, 3, 4 MB, depending on the quality and the length of the song. You understand that? What is bigger, a song or a movie? A movie. A song is 2, 3, 4 MB. A movie goes into hundreds of MBs, going into GBs again, depending on the length and the quality. So what did you understand? Images, songs, movies require much more space as compared to Word documents and basic numbers. So this is the point. These images, songs, movies, games, this is what you call media. When Steve Jobs and Bill Gates got media, graphics into computers, they realized this basic RAM and ROM is not going to cut it. Now we need massive storage space, and that's the reason why secondary memory was invented. Are you clear? Now you don't like my handwriting? No problem at all. It's all there. Pay attention. As a person, I love neatness, presentation, and all the books I've written. I'm the author of textbooks. I see to it that visually they are absolutely on point because you respect what you are teaching. The visual neatness comes with it automatically. Anyway, it's about me personally. You'll notice that throughout the course, throughout any of my videos, you'll see anywhere. So this is secondary memory. In secondary memory comes the most important device of secondary memory, that's hard disk. That's where all your storage happens. Floppy, CD, DVD are for portability. Do we need portable memories? You tell me, I want a song from your computer. Should I take your computer home? Should I carry your hard disk home? No. You need some way by which you can transfer the song into a device and give me. Earlier, it was floppies. When I was in college, we used to carry floppies in our pocket. Yeah, that was the in thing at that time. You have any cousin or parents or elders at home who were in doing engineering during the 90s? They will agree. Even to get a game, a floppy was so small, 1.4 MB. To get a game, we used to cut the game. Okay, not literally cut it, like cut it as in break the game into parts. There were softwares for doing it, and RAR files and all, or WinZip. And then we used to unzip them, store them in floppies, and then get the game installed in the computer. So it used to be a long process. Today, it happens with the click of a button. Anyway, so coming back, floppy. So then after floppies, they got replaced by CDs, much bigger size and more reliable, no interference of mobile networks. Floppies were magnetic storage. In college COA syllabus, you teach floppies in detail, the whole magnetic storage method. Now in the GATE syllabus, you don't learn the storage method of floppy or CD or DVD, but you have storage secondary devices for calculations of speeds. Anyway, we'll come to that when we reach that part of the subject. So CD replaced floppies because they were much bigger in size. DVDs replaced CD because they were much bigger in size, not like physical size, in storage capacity. You understand what I'm saying, right? And then they got replaced by pen drives, and today they are replaced by the cloud. Today, if I want a song from you, nah, we don't need any device. Just put it in the cloud, give me the link, right? So those are all secondary forms of memory. And the static secondary memory, which is there inside your computer, which holds all your information, is your hard disk. Now, they are for portability. This is for storage. These are for operations. We'll go one level deeper now. First of all, tell me their sizes. To make you understand the next point I'm going to make, the sizes of all these memories must be clear. You don't need to memorize it. Try to tell me from your real world knowledge, whatever you have. The ones that you answer, I'll be happy. The ones that you don't, I will tell you. Don't worry. Like I'm sure you don't know what's the size of a floppy. This one, let me give it to you already. 1.44 MB. Yeah, look at this. So small. You can't even store a single high quality image in it. Anyway. So RAM, this you should know, and this will be asked to you even in your interview as a general knowledge, just to see how interested are you genuinely in this field. A person who owns a device should definitely know what is the RAM size in that device, or at least in the ballpark, may not be the exact size. So how much RAM does a computer have today? Any typical computer you buy, you search on Amazon or any website, you say computer or just a laptop, the first 10 ones that you get will have a RAM of around 8 GB. Can be little lesser if you want to buy a cheaper one, that is 4 GB, maybe 6 GB, some may have the crooked configuration. Or you may have a more expensive one with a 12 GB or 16 GB RAM if you want to do gaming, probably even more. But an average, normal, typical computer has 8 GB RAM. How much ROM do you have? 4 to 8, I'm keeping the number same, 8 MB. MB. You understand? Okay, first of all, kilo, mega, giga, tera. Do you understand that? I'll keep that on the board. The smallest is kilo. Before kilo comes bytes, individual bytes. 1,000 bytes makes a kilo. Now, it's not exactly 1,000, it's 1024. Keep it simple. 1,000. And then each one of them grow by 1,000. So 1,000 bytes make a kilo, 1,000 kilo makes a mega, 1,000 mega makes a giga, 1,000 giga makes a tera. Are you clear? They grow on thousands. In the international counting system, this is 1,000, million, billion, trillion. You heard those words, right? Million, billion, trillion. That's nothing else but kilo, mega, giga, tera. Are you clear? Now, coming back. Indian counting system. I'll take a break from this. So surprising. Engineering students, finally, they don't understand what's the difference between a lakh and a million and a crore and a billion, and you expect to get good jobs. I mean, you need to know. This is not even computer knowledge. This is just basic general knowledge which you're supposed to have. And yes, in computers, everything is given in megabytes and gigabytes. That's millions and billions, not lakhs and crores. So for once, let's get this clear. I'm going off topic. I never use a script. I don't have a set of topics or chits kept over here. Okay, this after this, the next topic is this, next topic is this. So, little bit these deviations happen. Doesn't matter as long as it's giving us knowledge. So, Indian counting system, extremely proud. We are the ones ruling the computer industry, but we didn't invent computers. Like we are ruling cricket, we didn't invent it. It is a game that came from the West. Same goes with computers. It came from the US. Now, in India, our counting system has lakhs and crores. Let's first run through this. Units, tens, hundreds, thousand, 10,000, lakh. So what happened? When did a lakh come? When you reached 100,000, right? We have an obsession with hundreds. We change units on hundreds. 100,000 became a lakh, then 10 lakh, then crore. So when did you reach crore again? When you hit 100. 100 lakh makes a crore. So we shift denomination on 100. The international counting system shifts denomination on 1,000. So now change this and tell me the international counting system. Come on. If you ever confused or you had this fear of what is a million, what is a billion, next 2 minutes it will be clear. Just pay attention. 2 minutes. Units, tens, hundreds, thousand. Now you are talking in thousands. So 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, no lakh. The words lakh and crore don't exist outside our beautiful country. So say again, units, tens, 100,000. Now we are in thousands. 1,000, 10,000, 100,000. 1,000 becomes a million. Are you clear? That's what we call mega in computers. So you shift on 1,000. A million is 1,000,000. In other words, 10 lakhs. Are you clear? Don't try to equate a million and lakh. You don't need to. Just use this number system to understand things. So this becomes a million when you reach 1,000,000. So now we are in millions. 1 million, 10 million, 100 million, 100 million. 1,000 million becomes a billion. Are you clear? So you shift. It's a consistent system. It's an actually a better system because it works consistently on thousands. It changed denomination on thousands. So 1,000 million becomes a billion. That's 1,000 mega becomes a giga. Billion means giga. Similarly, now you're in billions. 1 billion, 10 billion, 100 billion. 1,000 billion becomes a trillion. That's called tera. Are you clear? So kilo, mega, giga, tera is nothing else but 1,000, million, billion, trillion. They change on thousands. Have I made myself clear? Do you understand what these numbers are? Now let's go ahead. Come on. ROM is 8 mega. RAM is 8 giga. What did you instantly understand? RAM is 1,000 times more than ROM. Are you clear? ROM is 0.1% of RAM. If my whole body is the physical memory, this is ROM. Are you understanding it? The remaining is all RAM. So your primary memory is mainly RAM. So when I say the word memory, the first thing that should come to your mind is RAM. Are you clear? ROM is negligible compared to the size of RAM. Now, let's go ahead. Secondary memory. The biggest secondary memory, the main storage space of your computer is your hard disk. What is the size of your hard disk? Yeah, 1 TB. That's the typical size. You may have 2 TB. You may even have 3 TB. Please don't give those answers in an interview. Immediately the person will ask, what are you storing? Why do you need so much storage? A 1 TB never gets full for normal usage unless you are into editing and or creating games or things like that. For an average user, this is what most people have. So 1 TB, of course, you can have more. You're most welcome. It's your own computer. Do what you want. Floppy. Look at that. Giga, 1,000 giga makes a tera, 1,000 mega makes a giga, a floppy is just 1 mega. That's the reason why it got outdated. And the other reason, it was magnetic storage. So in that era, yeah, mobile phones were launched in India, but not everybody had it, especially college kids didn't. Most college kids didn't. But we used to have pagers. I remember carrying a pager. Yeah, there was something called a pager which came before mobile. So all through my engineering, I used to have that pager. The cricket score used to get updated. And of course, we used to exchange messages. So if you ever kept the pager and the floppy in the same pocket, forget the floppy. It won't work after that. Its jacket was so thin that it could easily get interfered by these radiation signals of mobile phones and pagers. That's the other reason why they got obsolete, outdated, rejected. I mean, it was so depressing. You copy a file in college in a floppy. By the time you reach home, you put it in a computer, that file is gone, the floppy is corrupt. And it used to be so irritating that everything is gone. There was no other medium of transferring. Yeah, mass internet wasn't there at that time. And for those who had it, it was super, super expensive. So you wouldn't expect all the others to have it so that you could get that file. So you just gone. It's gone. Next day you go to college, only then you'll get it. Anyway, coming back. So those were the limitations. We faced those challenges and come to this world. Of course, you have your own set of challenges in this world and they will be overcome by the time you reach a higher age. Anyway, that's technology. That's how the cycle keeps turning. The next, floppies got replaced by this mammoth storage device in terms of storage capacity. CD 700 MB, ridiculous. 1 MB, this is 700 MB. Size is this much. You could still carry a CD in your pocket as well. And then CD got replaced by this gigantic storage capacity, 4.7 GB DVD. In fact, then came Blu-ray discs. I was a big fan. I have a whole stash of them. But of course, now it's all streaming, and streaming happens in 4K, so you don't really need that stash anymore. Someday probably I'll do something with it. But yeah, Blu-rays were 30 GB, 32 GB and so on. I even used to teach it earlier in COA syllabus, not for GATE, but for college COA syllabus. CD, DVD and then Blu-rays were there. So what's the difference, how it did, multi-layer discs and so on. Anyway, so they were disk memories. So now look at their sizes. Our focus is here on the sizes. This is a few MB. You don't need to remember the numbers, just remember the range. A few MB, a few GB, TB, a few TB, 1, 2, 3, 1 MB, a few GB again, so pretty similar to size of RAM, a few GB, and barely 1 GB. Okay, this was their storage capacities. Now, it's the same numbers written a little more neatly. Okay, now, hard disk is where all your programs are stored, all your data, your movies, your songs, your images, your C programs. I'm sure you do a lot of C at home, don't you? And all the other programs, your VS Code and your operating system and everything is stored in the hard disk. What is the floppy used for? Floppy, CD, DVD are used for portability. Of course, modern computers don't have a floppy drive. In fact, many modern computers like Apple removed a CD drive. I don't think I've seen a CD drive in an Apple device since 2016 or maybe or something like that. Because why? These require rotation, which requires a motor, which consumes a lot of energy and kills the battery. That's the reason why Apple completely abolished them. And plus that big hole creating a whole nuisance in terms of water protection and things like that. Anyway, so CDs, DVDs, but at least in terms of syllabus, they are there. So that's the reason I'm talking about them. Many computers, Intel computers still had CD drives for a long, long time. They got replaced by pen drives, which today are replaced by cloud. They are used for portability. This is used for storage. Now, I have this very interesting question. Yes, I don't want to remove these because I need some form of portability. Even if they go, a pen drive will come and so on. So these I understand is for portability. What about the hard disk? Tell me, what was the good property of RAM? Okay, just the good property, the good thing of RAM over ROM. Why did we need RAM? For writing. RAM was a writable form of memory. I'm just writing the word WR. It was writable. Are you clear? You could write in RAM. What was the advantage of ROM? Try to recollect. Yes, it was non-volatile. Yeah, what is written over here? Non-volatile. So this was writable, this was non-volatile. These were the better properties of both of them. So I needed ROM because of its permanent storage. I needed RAM for writing. Hard disk, pay attention, has both of these properties. Hard disk is writable. Am I correct? You write new things in your hard disk every day. At the same time, it's non-volatile. You switch off your computer, lock your room, go for a holiday, come back after weeks, probably months, you have a beautiful life, and you come back. Everything stored in your hard disk stays. What does that mean? It is non-volatile, at the same time writable. That means it has the best property of both RAM and ROM and is humongous in space. It's 1 TB compared to these 8 GB and this silly 8 MB. It's huge. Like how we say in our local language, sasta sundar, same thing, tikau, everything stays, sasta hai. Yes, let's talk about costs. Amazing. What is the cost of RAM? You go to buy a RAM today, it's in the range of 2 to 3,000. Okay, I'm not selling. You may get it 200 cheaper, you may get it 400 expensive. This is not a debate on that. I'm giving a ballpark. So 2 to 3,000 is the cost of RAM. A few thousands, let's keep it simple. A few thousands is the cost of hard disk. 2, 3, maybe 3,500. So pretty much in that same region. But look at the storage capacity. This is 8 GB. That is 1 TB. You do the math, it's 125 times or something like that. Yeah, correct. So it is so much bigger in terms of storage capacity, but costs the same, which means it's 100 times cheaper in cost per bit if you do the mathematics. So hard disk is cheap. It is writable. It is non-volatile. Takes the same physical space more or less. Then why can't we just replace the whole primary? You want RAM, you have the writing part in the hard disk. You want ROM, you have the non-volatility in the hard disk, which means everything that was there in RAM and ROM can be done by the hard disk. So let's replace primary memory and let's have only hard disk. Why can't we do that? I just gave the answer. In fact, 5 minutes back, I gave the answer. Yes. Hard disk is a disk. Needs to be rotated. When you rotate, you feel that, right? Hard disk, floppy disk, CD, DVD, they all are disk memories. Disk memories undergo rotation. Even when you're working on the computer, you can feel that small vibration. Apart from the fan of the computer, it's the hard disk rotating. So that rotation consumes a lot of energy. So very bad for the battery life. Today's world is all about handheld devices where power supply is stored. It's battery operated, not free running power supply. That means not just performance, the power consumption is an equally big criteria in the modern computer world. You may have the best phone, the most powerful phone in the world, but if the battery doesn't last even a whole day, you don't want it. What's the point? You are not going to carry a charger with you everywhere you go. Same goes with the computer. You want the battery to last the whole day, the whole working hours that you want it for. Anyway, so coming back. The rotation consumes power, but chalo, let's say we have connected to a power supply. Now what is the problem? Because these are rotated, the data in these disks is stored in circular tracks. Yes, you have the study of hard disk. It's stored in circular tracks. There is a head. As the tracks rotate, the head reads the data. There are sectors and regions and all that. We'll come to that. But what does a computer science student understand from this? What's your takeaway from this? The speed at which you will get your data is now dependent on the speed at which you can rotate the disk, which means now it's dependent on mechanics. It's not pure electronics. Now it's a mechanical operation. Hard disks rotate at 7,200 RPM. Yeah, I'm giving you real world numbers. 7,200 rotations per minute divided by 60. That's a basic 120 rotations per second, which is very slow as compared to pure electronics. RAM and ROM are chip memories. They are not disk memories. A chip memory is pure electronics, semiconductor chip. Nothing has to be rotated. Data can be randomly obtained from anywhere. There is no sequential movement. That's why it's called RAM. Random access is not because you can read and write. It's because it's not sequential. You can randomly go to any location and pick up the data. The average seek time is pretty much the same for all locations and no rotation involved. So it works on pure electronic speed. So what do you understand? Yes, they are more expensive as compared to hard disk, but they are extremely fast. Tremendously fast. RAM, ROM operations work very fast as compared to any operation on secondary memory. So you tell me, the student says, sir, one second. This is faster. You can read and write if you combine RAM and ROM. Then why do we need hard disk? Remove that. Let's use only RAM and ROM. Let's say you want more storage, right? Increase the size of RAM. They are very expensive as compared to the hard disk. So to contain the right balance, what do you want? You answer. You tell me yourself. You want a cheap computer or expensive computer? What do you want? You want computers to be as cheap as possible so that everyone can afford it. At the same time, you want it to be slow or fast? Fast. You want it fast, but you want it cheap. What do? You don't use one type of memory. You create a division between primary memory and secondary memory. You operate on faster memory and you store in cheaper memory. So secondary memory, now you understand the concept of primary and secondary. Secondary memory is not used for operations. Secondary memory is for storage. It's like the bag that you carry where all your books and your materials are stored, some of which you may never even use the whole semester, but you're still carrying it. Maybe you need it, maybe you don't. That's the case of all the files that are there in your hard disk. So many apps you've downloaded, you may use them, you may not use them. So many movies, you had a good internet speed, you downloaded something, yeah, great, I'm going to watch it on a flight or while traveling. Maybe I don't. Who cares? There is hardly any cost to them because the storage is cheap. So this is used for storage. So this is like your bag and your RAM. Your primary memory is your desk. What you want to work on comes from your bag on your desk. Your operation happens on the RAM. And because it happens on the RAM, it happens extremely fast. These are chip memories, those are disk memories. Is the difference clear? Is the concept of primary and secondary memory clear? So keep this in mind. The processor, your processor, never directly works on secondary memory. Are we clear? Crystal clear? No movie is directly played from the CD. Yeah, you have put a movie there in the CD, you put in the drive, you think you're playing from the CD. No, you're not. The movie gets copied into the RAM. The operations happen on the RAM so that the operations are fast. So let's go one step deeper, closer to the reality. Come. So in the hard disk, are all your files, all your movies, all your songs, all your C programs, your Python, Java programs, yes, your Word documents, your notes, your PDFs, everything is there in your hard disk. Are you clear? Now you decide you want to open a movie. Where is the movie stored? Hard disk, let's say, as an example, or CD, whatever, secondary memory. The moment you double click on the movie first gets copied into the RAM. The movie comes into the RAM. First of all, tell me, where should it come? Into the ROM or into the RAM? Absolutely RAM. How can it come into ROM? ROM is read-only memory. You cannot write. So this is common sense. Your working area is your RAM. That's why ROM is very small as compared to the RAM. When you say primary memory, you basically mean RAM for all practical purposes. So the movie comes into the RAM. Then the processor plays the movie. A student says, sir, okay, you tell me. Let's change it. When you double click on a movie, does a movie play instantly? No. Try to recollect. Even if it's a Mac, if it's a M1, M2, M3, it won't play instantly. Takes about a few seconds, depending what's the configuration of your computer, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds, maybe 10, 15 seconds, so it's really slow. But yeah, it takes some time. What is happening in that time? The movie is coming into the RAM. Yes. Now, is the whole movie coming into the RAM? No. Because if the hard disk could give the whole movie in 10 seconds, then it is fast enough. Then let's play from the hard disk only. And secondly, no, it's not coming. Secondly, when you double click on a movie, it doesn't really mean you're going to watch the whole movie. Am I right or not? Stop thinking weird things. Focus and tell me. So many times we click on a movie, it opens, nah, not interested. Close it. Probably you just wanted to watch one scene. Probably you just want to see the opening titles. Probably you're just trying to see if you like the movie or not. So when you may not watch the whole movie, why bring that whole baggage inside? Are you understanding what I'm saying? So when you open a movie, the whole movie doesn't come inside. You don't even have so much space available only for your movie. There are other things in your RAM. So a small portion of the movie will come inside. What are these small portions called? Pages. Like we have books. 1 second. I may probably have some book of my own. See, if I had a script, I would have the book on the table. Just comes, so many years of teaching. Yeah, this is my own book. I'm not trying to promote, so I'm going to hide the name of the label because that's not the intention of this lecture. I'm just telling you, I'm the author. I write textbooks. So yeah, you can see Bharat Archarya. So this is a book for what? C programming. Anyway, so now collectively, this book has lots of information, programs, their screenshots, and of course, the whole theory about programming. When a student reads this book and wants to go for the exam, at that time, the student wants all this information. So should I give all this information in one large sheet of paper? No. Because even if I do that, are you going to read that whole sheet in one glance? No. In one glance, you'll read this much. In 1 minute, you watch 1 minute of the movie. You don't watch the whole movie in 1 minute. So, normal playing. So, the book is divided into equal size sections called pages. This is where the word literally came from. Like how a book is divided into pages and you read one page at a time. Similarly, the memory, the file that you want to bring, the movie or the Word file or any application is split into equal sized chunks, blocks called pages. Are you clear? And this is the technology of paging, which you learn in full detail with numericals, with theory, with replacement algorithms and all. So one by one, pages are brought in and stored in any pocket that is available. Maybe there is some free memory here, maybe there is some free memory here, maybe there is some free memory here. Wherever there are empty pockets available, wherever there is space on your desk, like I had space here, I kept this book here. Similarly, pages are brought in and kept on your working area as and when required on demand. Are you clear? So when you double click on the movie, the whole movie doesn't come in. The first 1 minute of the movie is brought in from the hard disk in the form of a few pages. That occupies some space in your memory. That's the first 5, 6, 10 seconds that it takes for your movie to start. Then what happens? As you actually are watching the movie, when this page is over, the next page is brought in. Now students say, sir, if that happens, then after every 1 minute, there should be a lag of 10 seconds before the next page comes in. No, engineers are smart. You are also smart. It won't happen after you finish the whole page. By the time you're reaching the end of the page, the computer understands that yes, you are interested in watching at least the next page. So in the background, the next page is brought in, the next page is brought in. So that lag happens only when you begin the movie. Then thereafter, as you're watching the movie, it's a smooth beautiful experience so long as you're watching it sequentially. You tell me again from your own experience. You watch the movie sequentially, it works smoothly, butter smooth. But suppose you decide to scroll ahead, like there is a song, Hindi movie. I don't know when will they realize it's not required anymore. But anyway, personal choice. So you see there is a song, you don't want that. You want to skip 5 minutes or 10 minutes ahead. The moment you scroll, again, have you noticed there is a lag? Yes, that is because your computer didn't predict that you might skip. AI will predict it, give it just a little more time. Seeing your behavior, it will predict it and side by side bring those pages as well, so that you, if you decide to skip, there will be a lag, but the lag will be very small just to change the sequence and go to that page, but the page will be already brought in. Anyway, that's the future. A lot of things, as you understand computers and you understand AI, you know where this field is headed. So coming back, pages are brought in, you watch sequentially, everything is fine, you scroll, again there's a small delay because the new set of pages are brought in, but thereafter again, as long as you go sequential, the pages, they're already there in the correct order and the scrolling happens absolutely smooth. Anyway, so that is your experience of watching a movie. Maybe, let's change the experience. Maybe you are, this is your Word file. You want to work on a Word file, you opened it. That file along with the whole application of Word. To play the Word file, you need the Word application. You click on a Word file, Word opens and then the file opens. You understand the difference between the two, right? So they come into your RAM. Now you're typing some document. Side by side you feel, let there be some music going on in the background. A lot of people like that. I myself like it, not while I'm shooting obviously, but otherwise when I'm working, especially when I'm coding, I like that soft deep house going on in the background, so that there's just a rhythm to what you're doing. Anyway, that's a personal choice. So you want some music to go on. So you select your playlist along with the music application, they all come into the RAM. You understand what I'm saying? Side by side you decide you want to talk to your friend. You open some WhatsApp or any kind of chatting system that you have. That along with the chats get loaded into the RAM. Why you talk to your friend? Probably you're discussing a project, probably you're discussing the Word document, or probably you're just chit-chatting. Anyway, so a mix of all of this going on. Suddenly your friend during that WhatsApp chat says, remember that day I sent you a file? Open that. Yeah, it's another file, a document, a PDF. Okay, stop overthinking. So you open that. Suddenly, who is going on getting full? The RAM. Your friend says, forget this file, I sent you one more file that day, open that one. Yeah, whatever you're thinking, it's not my concern. Now, you want to open that file, but your RAM is full. Does your computer say, enough? Don't, you're not allowed to. No, your computer cooperates and somehow manages to open the file, albeit with a little delay, but it manages to open the file. How? It comes here and sees which are the pages which are really being used and which are the pages which are no longer being used, like that Word or that C program which has been minimized and not being used for a long time. That means it's occupying space on your desk, but it's not being used for a way. No, there's nothing on my desk which is not being used, but that's neatness. But anyway, there could be things which you no longer need, then they don't need space over here. They are replaced. This is called page replacement, and in that various algorithms happen. FIFO, first in, first out. The one who came in first goes out first. Simple, fair. Fair may not always be the best practice. You may use LRU, least recently used. The ones you're using recently, let them be here. The ones that you've not used for a long time, throw them. Or LFU, you keep account what you're watching again and again. What you're watching the most is what you may watch again. These are, also the reasons why when you click on the emoji button while chatting, you see there are probably 1,000 emojis, but 25 are there in the first screen, and generally you use one of them. What are they? They are the most recently and a mix of most frequently used emojis that you use, and it's most likely you'll be using them rather than scrolling through those 1,000 all over again. So do these algorithms work? Of course, they're derived from the human behavior of using computers. Why do you have a recently dialed list in your phone? To get caught. Why do you have that? I'm just joking. Why do you have that? Because most likely you'll call someone from that list, and that is the case. Most likely, why are the recent chats shown on WhatsApp at the top? Most likely you'll be chatting with these people again rather than chatting with someone whom you last spoke many months ago, unless a situation like that comes up. Don't get distracted. Focus here. So you understand how these algorithms make a difference to our real world working of a computer. Anyway, come, pay attention. A person who understands this and can relate it to the real world, if you learn from people like those, the knowledge sticks, the concept sticks, it hits the spot in the head from where it can never come out. Anyway, so what happens when the RAM gets full? Page replacements happen, algorithms are run, it's decided whether the page needs to be stored back, where dirty bit and all come into picture. That's when you learn paging in detail. But does this take extra time? Does this replacement take extra time as compared to just taking a page in? Of course it does. And that's when you notice a little bit of lag in your computer. Again, tell me from your own experience. You open one application, you're just working on that application, you get some performance from your computer. You open 10 different applications, you hear, then for some time you hear, for some time you hear, for some time you hear. You see a mess, your computer starts slowing down. Why? Now you understand why? Because they're all fighting for space inside the RAM, and RAM cannot hold everything that is there in the hard disk because it's 8 GB, that's 1 TB, everything cannot come here. This is a very small fraction of what is available over there. Not even if this was 10 GB and that's 1 TB, it will still be 1/10, it's less than 1/10. Do you understand? Or 1/100th rather. So it's less than 1%. So basically RAM can hold very little amount of information as compared to your hard disk. So as you open more and more applications, as you open more and more apps on your phone, it starts lagging. Then what do they say? Kill the apps. What do you mean by killing the apps? Get rid of them from your RAM so that you have more space and more apps can come in. Suddenly you free up your RAM space. Are you clear? Or increase the size of the RAM. Anybody with this much knowledge of computers will tell you, you want to make your computer faster, have more RAM. Buy a computer with more RAM, or at least the one which has slots for adding RAM, so that tomorrow you can just buy more RAM and put it there, and that's how you increase the performance, because you're allowing more and more applications to run simultaneously. If you're running a single application, your 4 GB, 8 GB RAM is good. But if you want to run multiple applications, multitasking, going from one app to the other constantly, and you need it for really for your production, for your productive activity, then increase the size of the RAM. Anyway, so I hope you understood how this whole swapping of pages and how this whole thing happened. Of course, not in detail, giving an introduction. All of these are questions, all of these are numericals. They will come when the time comes. This lecture this is just an introduction to the subject. I have not even started the core theory. Now, so we understand everything is brought into the RAM. This is for portability, this is for storage, advantage very cheap, advantage super fast, writable, etc. We get that. The only memory over here that we've not spoken a word about is ROM. What is ROM doing in a computer? Everything is brought into the RAM. RAM is your playground. RAM is your table on which you're working. What is ROM doing? Do you bring programs into the ROM? No, you can't. It's read-only memory. You can't. Then what is ROM doing? Have you heard of operating system? Please don't say no. Which OS are you familiar with? If you're using a Windows computer, it's the Windows OS. If you're using an Apple computer, it's the Mac OS. Some people use Linux, some people use Unix, Ubuntu, etc. Whichever ones. There are some people who use those. I haven't used Ubuntu, so I don't know how good it is. Linux and Unix, yeah, if you use the Mac, you know the power of those OSs. And Windows is what started the mass graphic UI interface, the mass popular product. Most people still use Windows and it's great. I've learned computers on Windows, so huge respect for that and for its simplicity. But yeah, they all have their own performance and safety and antivirus features and so on. Let's not get into that. That's a separate subject. I don't teach OS per se, but a lot of OS is covered in COA and a lot of OS is covered in embedded systems, which I teach, RTOS, real-time operating system, which is used in mobile phones and all. Anyway, so coming back, what is there in ROM? Is the OS in ROM? No. No. If you think Windows is stored in ROM, double check your thought process. What is the size of ROM? A few MB. You think Windows is a few MB? Most basic apps that you download are a few MB. Most basic apps. Windows is what runs your computer. Mac OS is what runs your computer. It cannot be stored in 8 MB. It requires 30, 40 GB to be stored. So like everything else, your OS is also stored in your hard disk. But when you start your computer, should your OS start? Absolutely. Your OS is the one that manages your whole memory, handles interrupts, handles the timer operations, handles everything inside your computer. It's the mothership program, the main program that runs everything in your computer and allocates memory and resources to all other programs. So OS should begin the moment a computer starts. But Everything can only run from the RAM. Nothing can run from the hard disk, which means when you switch on your computer, your operating system has to come into the RAM. Will it come by magic? No. Get this clear. Everything that happens in a computer happens by a program. There is no magic. So if Windows has to come into the RAM, there has to be a program that loads the operating system into the RAM. That program is a part of a bigger program called the BIOS. BIOS stands for Basic Input Output System. It does all the IO checking and loads the operating system into the RAM. So the first program that is executed the moment you switch on a computer is the BIOS. Are you clear? And if BIOS has to run, it has to be stored somewhere. Where will BIOS be stored? Will BIOS be stored also in secondary memory? No, because then to load it, you will need another program and this will then go on. So BIOS has to be there in primary memory. Can BIOS be in RAM? No chance, because RAM is volatile. You switch off your computer and switch it on, there won't be any BIOS, your computer won't start. So the only place where BIOS can be is ROM, and the only real purpose of ROM in a computer is to hold its BIOS program. Are you clear? This is what ROM does in a computer. So let's run through the startup routine of a computer. You tell me, when you switch on your computer or your phone, either of the two, does it start instantly? Like a fan, switch it on, plug and play. Does it start instantly? No. Depends upon, again, the OS and the power of your processor and which level of computer you're using. It takes about 10, 15, 20, 30 seconds to start. Am I right or no? What is happening in those 10, 20 seconds? Is it warming up? It started. It started the moment you press the switch on button. In fact, by the time you lifted your finger up, it's done millions of operations already. It has started, works at gigahertz. But what you get to see comes after 15, 20 seconds. So what's going on in that time? You finished your engineering. You got your degree of being called an engineer. You still don't know what's happening at that time. What's the purpose of this degree? It's then just another marking on a paper in your file. It's not adding any value to you as a person. Being a computer engineer, you should know. Next time somebody is sitting with you when you started a computer, hold their hand and tell them, I know exactly what's going on right now. The first thing that happens when you hit the reset button or the switch on button is a program called the BIOS. The computer goes to the reset vector address. You learn this in microprocessors, not in COA. Goes to a particular address from where it runs the BIOS program. That is inside the ROM. The BIOS program, apart from initializing your keyboard, mouse, printer, etc., will bring the operating system into the RAM. Once the OS comes into the RAM, the OS takes over and then your computer actually starts. So if you do this process in the real world, let's say you switched on the Mac or a Windows, you switch on, for the first few seconds, is your wallpaper immediately there? No. Before your wallpaper comes the Windows logo. Have you seen? That means your operating system is running. And before the Windows logo, there is about 2-3 seconds when the screen is just blank. That is your BIOS running. So you switch on the computer, your BIOS starts running, nothing is displayed. The moment your OS comes into the RAM, your Windows or your Apple or your whichever is your manufacturer of the OS, their logo comes on the screen. That goes about 15-20 seconds till the time the whole operating system when you learn the OS subject, you learn what it does. Fabulous subject. Anyway, it makes all the system tables, initializes all the files, blah, jazz, a lot of things to be done. And that happens in the first 15-20 seconds. Once that's done, your wallpaper comes, all your icons come, and now control is in your hand. Now you choose what you want to do. You want to watch a movie, click on it. You want to play a song, click on it. You want to open WhatsApp, click on that. Then you decide what your computer is. But before that, it's this whole process that takes place and your operating system comes into the RAM and the program that does it, the BIOS, and that is stored in ROM. That's the purpose of ROM in a computer. Please tell me, is this clear? So now, answer. Are all these memories required? Is each one of them playing a specific role in your computer? That's why they are all there. You can't replace them. Yes, what you can do is change the medium. These are, like I said, portable memories. They can be changed by today by a pen drive, which again is changed by cloud, which tomorrow will be some or the other system, but basically related to the cloud. Now, one small thing to answer the question that I started the lecture with, what memory is there in your phone? Please answer. You take pictures on a day-to-day basis, you store videos and so on. You store things, whatever they are, games, etc. What is that memory? RAM or ROM? Please do not tell me hard disk. You tell me hard disk, I'll stop the lecture right now. You understand there's no hard disk in your computer. Nothing is going to rotate. Your battery will die within hours. Forget the whole day. Not even. So no question of hard disk, no physical movement. So what is there? Yeah, that is flash. What is very nice. You said flash, you won my heart. What is flash? A type of ROM. It's not RAM. So let's get this clear first of all. I'm taking your interview. You've passed all my questions. I'm about to hand over your employment confirmation to you. This is the last question. Don't mess it up. What is there in your computer? Where on your phone? Where are you storing everything? Is there RAM in your phone? Of course. You run all your applications using the RAM. RAM is your playground. But where are you storing all the information? ROM. How can it be RAM? If it was RAM, when your battery is out, your information will be gone. It's never gone. So it is ROM. It's just that ROM has evolved over the years. You learn that in CO, though I doubt it's ever going to be asked because it's too simple. It's a discussion that will get over now itself. So there was original ROM in the 70s, then came PROM, programmable ROM. Yes, you heard me. Programmable ROM. That means it's ROM that can be written, but only once. So it was also called OT-PROM, one-time programmable ROM. Then came EPROM, erasable programmable ROM, the ROM that was there in video games. If you weren't a kid of the 80s, we were. So yeah, I was born in 77, but childhood in 80s. So Donkey Kong, Mario, Tetris, those were games that we used to play, and the memory inside was EEPROM or EPROM. So EPROM is erasable programmable ROM, which means it comes blank. You write it, you read it, you want to change it. Hear this, it's ROM, but you want to change it, no problem. Expose it to UV light, which basically means sunlight. Open the memory, show it to sunlight, the memory is erased. Now you can write it again. After EPROM came EEPROM, which was there in those video games, where instead of exposure to light, you just have to increase the power supply. So there are two power supplies running inside. One is the normal 5 volts, one is the 12.5 volts, which is called VPP, programmable voltage. That is the voltage given, which gives the same energy what sunlight gave to those cells, and they are erased and can be reprogrammed. So though it is ROM, it can be written. And then manifestations of EEPROM came. One of them is called flash ROM, which does block-wise erasure. The size of the block is variable, can be changed. So you get an SMS, it will erase a block of a few kilobytes. You get a image, it will erase a block of an MB. You get a song, it will erase a block of 5 MB so that you can store it. You take a video, it will erase a block of GB so that you can store the video at one go. But at the same time, it is ROM. So what do we mean by that? When you switch off the computer or the appliance, the information is not lost. So this is the technology that is used in pen drives, which is also there in the storage of your phone, which is also there in a different kind of hard disk called solid state disk, SSDs. They all use flash, the same technology which is there in pen drives. Again, it's a chip memory, so it is more expensive than normal hard disks, which are disk memories. Like I told you, chip memories are more expensive, but they are also faster than disks, and their power consumption is much lower. So computers which don't have a disk of a hard disk, which have SSDs, have far better battery life. Those laptops last for 8-9 hours as compared to traditional laptops which use a rotating hard disk, which lasts for about 3 to 4 hours. That too, while selling, they say that it doesn't really last even that long. I haven't used one since a long time which really has that moving hard disk. Most laptops today use that SSDs. They are tad more expensive, but if you're buying a laptop and you ask me, should I use that option? Hands down, yes, and hands down, practical experience. Always buy a laptop with a backlit keyboard. Forget everything else. You need that backlit keyboard if you want to work at night. Otherwise, forget it. When lights are off, you don't want to disturb others, you can't really work. You won't be able to see the keyboard at all. If you're doing serious programming, if you're playing games, you know the 4 buttons on your left and right palms. But if you're doing programming, you want to see what you're typing, then I always suggest students 2 things. SSD, take a laptop with SSD, and definitely take a laptop with backlit keyboard. And you see, a teacher always wants to give some or the other information. It's there in us, that's in our system. Anyway, so this is what all these memories do. I just told you what is there also in your phone. You have RAM for your operations, and you have flash ROM to store all those files, all those images, etc., etc. Your your memory, which will be there 256 GB ROM or 512 GB or 1 TB, depending on what phone you have. That is your flash memory. All right. So give that answer when you are when you're going for interviews or when somebody asks you, or just basically know that as sake of knowledge. Now, there is one last piece of the puzzle. You can see there's a lot of space over here. Something is going to come. Obviously, I won't just draw it there. Some new thing happened mid-80s. Why? Tell me, in all of these memories, where does all the work happens? Come on, come on, come on. Where do all the activities take place? That desk of the computer, that working space, that is your RAM. So is it fair to say the speed of a computer tremendously depends upon the speed of the RAM? Absolutely. More than rotating speed of the hard disk. You will seek a file once, but you'll operate on it the whole day. So your operation speed is mainly the speed of your RAM. There are two types of RAMs, SRAM and DRAM, static RAM and dynamic RAM. Which is faster? Yeah, dynamic, no, static. Yeah, dynamic sounds dynamic RAM, so it will be faster. The faster one is static. Why? I'll teach you this in full detail when we learn the subject, but yes, if you just want the answer, what does RAM do? Stores data. What is data? Zeros and ones. Every data is basically zeros and ones. I will show it to you. After this, the next thing, we'll be learning that how everything becomes zeros and ones. Very fascinating. Anyway, so you don't need to understand how to store a movie. You don't need to understand how to store a song. You need to understand how to store one bit. Once you know how to store one bit, combine millions of those, you stored a song. Combine billions of those, you stored a movie, and so on. I made this mistake, when I was a teacher, when I was a student, just like you. In fact, in my first year, I remember distinctly, Thado Malshani, third floor, first year student, asking the teacher this question and getting that ridiculous answer. I've said that in many of my videos. That was mid-90s was the time when the world moved from audio cassettes to CDs, and being a music fan, was very fascinated how that audio cassette used to store 6 songs, that 90-minute cassette, the 120-minute cassette used to store 8 songs, 9 songs probably, and a CD suddenly can store 100 songs. Extremely happy about it, but was amazed. This flat-looking object, if you look at it, you can see your face in it. It's a reflector surface, it needs to be, because it throws light, that's how it gets the information. Anyway, so I was like, I can see my face, where is the song? And where are hundreds of songs? What is this magic that's happening? I was too fascinated by it. I went and asked the teacher who was teaching us computer subject, not COA, it was called something, EMC, I don't remember what the subject name was, but it's what basically the foundation of computers. I went and asked that teacher, I got this answer, which ignited a fire in me to learn and to also become a teacher, because the answer was, what rubbish are you asking? This is not in your syllabus, don't ask such questions. And I was like, hello, I've come to my teacher to ask something which I want to know. I'm so excited about it. And that time, again, mid-90s, no mass internet, no free, no Google. So no free information available, free source of information. What do you learn from? You go to the library. TSEC had a superb library. Went to the library, read books, and understood my question was wrong. I was trying to understand how do you store a song. The technology is not about storing a song. The same CD can store a Word file. The same CD can store a movie. The same CD can store a game. So it's not about storing a song or a Word file or a game. It's about storing a bit. If I could just understand how to store one bit, in CDs there are lands and bits. I teach that in COA and not in GATE because it's not there in the GATE syllabus. But in my other course, the normal college course of COA, you learn how CDs work. And in those lands and bits, when you throw light, the way it gets reflected back decides whether you're hitting a 1 or a 0. And that's how you read the data. So, and then you rotate the disk at a particular speed and read the data, write the data, change the die, and so on. Coming back, the technology is about storing one bit. If you understand how to store one bit, you understand how to store any information. Are you clear? That one bit is stored in RAM in two ways. Like I said, we came from the concept of what are the two types of RAM, static and dynamic, and why is static faster? Look here, RAM stores data either in a capacitor or a flip-flop. Let's look at both of them. Have you heard of capacitors? What does a capacitor do? Store charge. For that capacitor, that is charge. For me, that is data. If I charge a capacitor to 5 volts, that means it's holding logic 1. I discharge it, it's holding logic 0. Charge it again, 1. Discharge it again, 0. Read it, 0. Read it, 0. Read it, 0. Charge it, 1. So you change the data. Read it, 1. Read it, 1. Discharge it, 0. This is RAM. It's writable, at the same time it's storing, at the same time all of it only works when there is power supply. Remove the power supply, the capacitor is just two plates looking at each other. Are you clear? So this is RAM. Inside the RAM cell is your capacitor. You charge it and discharge it. Based on that you store ones and zeros, combine millions of those and you store whatever information you want. The speed of this RAM depends on the charging and discharging speed. Remember how many times you learned capacitors. How many times in junior college and probably engineering, you've done numericals on charging speed and discharging speed. Did you ask your teacher, why are you teaching us all this? If you have asked, and if the teacher also knew, then you would know this decides how fast your computer works. The speed at which the RAM charges and discharges decides how fast you're storing the data, decides how fast your RAM and if in fact your computer works. You're playing a game, the scenario is going on changing, you're playing a high-speed car racing game. As the data keeps changing, it keeps getting rolled into the RAM, calculations happen using that RAM. If your RAM cannot cope up with the speed, there will be lags, you will have frame drops and your computer will work slowly. If the charging discharging time is optimized, you will get smooth operations. So your speed of your computer tremendously depends upon that charging discharging speed, and that is why you learned all those numericals. Anyway, everything you learn in engineering is very exciting and has its purpose. Many times teachers don't tell, many times students don't ask. Tell me if you asked your teacher why you're learning this. If you didn't, they don't blame the teacher. You gotta show your curiosity. Most teachers know everything. That's why they are teachers. Even if they don't, I mean everything, and no one can know everything, but everything relevant to the subject. So even if they don't, you ask the teacher, you compel the teacher to at least go and learn, and will come back the next day with the answer, unless it's someone who says, why are you asking something which is not in the syllabus? Then it will inspire you the way it inspired me to learn it by yourself, and that fire no one can stop. Anyway, coming back. So that is one type of RAM which uses capacitors, and capacitors take their time to charge and discharge, so it works slow. The other type of RAM uses flip-flops. See, digital logic. I told you there's a lot of DL in COA. So you've learned flip-flops. One single flip-flop can store 1 bit. Think of an SR flip-flop. You set it, it holds logic 1. Come back after 1 hour, it's still holding logic 1. Come back after 2 hours, it's still holding logic 1. You reset it, now it holds logic 0. You set it again, logic 1. You reset it, logic 0. You remove power supply, gone. This is RAM. It's holding 1 bit. It can be changed, it can be read, but only as long as power supply is maintained. This is RAM. So the reason why you learn capacitors as well as flip-flops is because these are components of RAM. These are the two types of RAMs. One is SRAM, which uses flip-flops, and one is DRAM, which uses capacitors. The dynamic part comes because of the charging and discharging speeds. Now you tell me which RAM will be faster. Yeah, SRAM, because it uses flip-flops. So it's pure electronics. There is no charging and discharging time. The speed is tremendously high as compared to DRAM, where capacitors, cute as they are, they take time to charge and discharge. You can't help that. And when you're charging and discharging millions of capacitors in lots simultaneously, but still millions of capacitors, that microseconds of charging and discharging times reflects into seconds in the real world, and that's when you spot the slowness. So, which is the faster RAM, static or dynamic? Static is faster because it uses flip-flops. Of course, we learn it in full detail with the circuit diagrams. Right now, I'm giving you the introduction. So, which RAM is faster? Static RAM. You have 8 GB of RAM in your computer. Can you tell me which RAM do you have? Which is faster? Come on, static. You paid for your computer. It's pretty expensive computer, I'm sure. What RAM do you have? Dynamic RAM. Yeah, even in the Mac, M2 doesn't matter. It's dynamic RAM. Let it cost whatever it costs. Why? Because if you have 8 GB of static RAM, forget about it. Your computer will cost 20, 30, 40 lakhs if I do my math correctly. Yes and no. None of the computers are that expensive, at least the ones that we buy on a normal day-to-day basis. So, the one that is there in your computer, my computer, any computer, is which RAM? Dynamic RAM. Now, this is leaving a sour taste in the mouth. We just heard that static RAM is faster. We understand technology. Sir, why did you even tell us static is faster and then tell us that our computer has dynamic RAM? What do you want? A fast computer or a slow computer? Fast computer. What do you want? An expensive computer or a cheap computer? Cheap computer. How do you make it fast and cheap? Let this RAM be DRAM. Doesn't matter. What did I say? Out of 2 hours of a movie, 2 minutes come into the RAM. Out of 2 minutes, are you going to really watch those 2 minutes in 1 second? No, in 1 second, you'll watch 1 second. Even in those 2 minutes, you're watching just small portions at a time. So only a small portion will be viewed at a time. So why should this whole thing be SRAM? Let this be DRAM. Let it be cost effective. Let's introduce a small RAM between these two. That is SRAM. That is your cache memory. The super fast high speed memory which works practically at the speed of the processor, because both of them internally use flip-flops. So the speed is pretty much in that same region. Of course, processor is still faster because hyperclocking and all that, I'll not get into that. You learn that in advanced microprocessors and pipelining, all those great technologies. But per se, as per electronic speeds, both of them at par. So the fastest memory is SRAM, but is also the most expensive memory. That's why it comes in very small sizes. So this is your cache. In a modern computer, cache is about 2 to 4 MB. Of course, you pay more, you get slightly more, but again, a few MB compared to a few GB, compared to a few TB. So RAM is 1000 times bigger than cache. The hard disk is 1000 times bigger than RAM, and they all cost the same, a few thousand rupees. So do you understand? This is 1000 into 1000 million times more expensive in terms of cost per bit as compared to the hard disk. So these are extremely cheap, mid-level, extremely expensive, but at the same time extremely fast, mid-level, extremely slow. Are you clear? Now, just to make the diagram a little more clear and appealing, that is your RAM. Are you clear? SRAM. And this is your DRAM. You don't even call it DRAM. When you say RAM, you mean DRAM. When you say cache, you mean SRAM. Are you clear? SRAM tremendously fast for the last time because it uses flip-flops. So, from your whole file, a small portion, a page comes into RAM. From the page, blocks come into cache, and the processor actually plays the file from the cache. So, as long as you're going sequential, initially, it takes time for the movie to start. Parts come into the RAM, parts come into the cache. Once they are there in the cache, the operation is smooth, but smooth so long as you don't scroll. The moment you scroll, now again answer this question. I'm changing the question and asking. When you scroll, there is a delay. The delay depends upon how far you have scrolled. If you just scrolled a few seconds ahead, like how that YouTube has, or most video apps have that 10 second ahead or 15 second ahead. If it's slightly ahead, the delay is very small, barely half a second, noticeable, but doesn't really interfere. But if you scroll by a few minutes, then the delay is about 1 or 2 seconds. Then you see that circle before that next part plays. Because when you scroll slightly ahead, you don't get in your cache, but you get in your RAM. So still, you're getting it from a fast memory. Are you understanding? And when you scroll far ahead, you don't get into the cache, you don't get into the RAM, then you actually have to get it from the hard disk. And that's when you see those seconds. So now is the whole set of operations clear? In fact, this was started by 80386. So this is also late 80s, mid 80s and late 80s, got refined by that time. Then came Pentium with a groundbreaking invention which changed the world. I'm saying this, I'm not exaggerating. I'm a kid who has seen these computers. And like I said, I started learning computers in my 6th standard. So we're talking about what, late 80s. And by the time I was in college, mid 90s, later part of 90s, I've seen the launch of Pentium, Pentium 2, Pentium 3, and I have seen how it actually made the difference. You just watch any video of Need for Speed. Let's take that game as a benchmark. See the original version of Need for Speed we have spent hours. NFS2 is still one of the best. And see the modern versions. You see how powerful they are, and when you look at those, you realize those were so trivial. Why? Because the processor could not handle it. Every new processor that came changed the game altogether. And that's when powerful graphics could come, because those lower processors could never handle those graphics. So each processor brought something fantastic with it, and what Pentium got was mind-blowing. Like I said, cache is super fast, processor is super fast, but they are all dependent on the bus that connects them. Buses could not evolve that fast. Bus speeds even today are barely 1 gigahertz, barely, even today. And processors go up to 3-4 gigahertz. So the buses became a bottleneck. To avoid that bottleneck, a portion of the cache was taken inside the processor, being called the L1 cache, and this got the name L2 cache. You learn all of this in CO. You have numericals on them. Are you clear? I'm not just giving you general knowledge. I'm laying the foundation for the subject that you're going to learn. So part of the cache came inside so that you're no longer dependent on the bus. The operations happen internally, and that's when insane speeds hit computers. Suddenly from a few megahertz, it shot up to gigahertz. That's 1,000 times increase. 8085 used to work at 3 megahertz, modern processors work at 3 gigahertz. So there you go, 1,000 times increase in performance because of getting L1 cache. So a modern computer diagram looks like this. You have L1 cache inside the processor. That too a split cache. a separate cache for code, a separate cache for data. What did I say? What does memory store? Programs and data. Code is programs and this is your data. So your most recently used programs are stored inside the processor. Your most recently used data is stored inside the processor. What does this simply mean? You open Instagram, tuck, 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 it comes everywhere. Now you are on Instagram, your Instagram program and your latest feed is all there inside the cache of the processor. That is why you see such smooth scrolling that you feel it's as if everything is already there in your computer, because it is. And in fact, it's inside the processor. It's been cached inside. If it's not found here, it's found here. It's not found here, it's found here. They're all very fast memories. Are you clear? As compared to the secondary storage. The only time you see a lag is when you click a random person's home page and you go to their home screen. That's when it takes about a second or two, because nobody guessed that you're going to go there. But once again, that is once it's loaded, then as you scroll, again it becomes very fast. Are you clear? So, coming back. This is the memory hierarchy of a modern computer. Tell me, should I remove these? No, 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 no. You want that extremely high performance. Should I remove these? No. If you don't get it here, they are very small. Look at this. This is KB, MB, GB, TB. Do you understand? Each step you go outside, the memory increases 1,000 times. So if you don't get it here, you still have a good purse where you get it. You don't get it here, you have your bag. You don't get it, you have your whole big bag where you have all your storage. So, let's summarize this. As you move out of the computer, yeah, that's my coupon code. Yeah, you get a lot of things with that. I'll come to that. Anyway, as you move out of the computer, this is a summary of this whole memory hierarchy. What happens to the cost, to the speed, and to the storage? As you move out, the cost reduces. The outer you go, the cheaper the memory gets. What happens to the speed? The speed reduces. The closer you are to the processor, the faster is the memory. What happens to the storage capacity? Increases. As you go further out, the storage capacity increases. Like I said, from kilo to mega to giga to tera. And what happens after this? What is there after this? What is here? Infinite possibilities, the internet. If you don't get it in your secondary memory, you're playing the video from the cloud, which is YouTube, which is all these streaming services. Then you don't get it from here, you get it from the cloud. When you're playing something from the cloud, if you don't find the data here, the lag is the most, because then it has to be brought from there into a temporary file, into your main RAM, into your cache, and into your L1 cache, and then you play it. Are you clear? So this is the whole memory hierarchy. I hope you understand the significance of every memory. Let's make the diagram a little more clear. As you move outside, they get cheaper, they get bigger in size. The cloud is infinite, it's practically free. Google Drives gives you what? Terabytes of free storage before you start paying if you need more, or whatever is the number. I use the paid ones because obviously I store all my videos there, but I'm sure so many drives. You finish one, create another account, you have another whole set and so on, and you know how to play with it. You're smarter than me in those things. Anyway, so as you go outside, the memories increase in size, they become cheaper, but yes, they are slower. You want performance, you go closer to the processor. You want cost effectiveness, you go further away. You want bigger storage, you go further away. Is the whole hierarchy clear? Is the role of every memory in this board clear? I told you, it's going to happen. Has to. Now, come back to our diagram. So now when I say various types of memories, you know what we are talking about. That's your processor, that's your IO section. Now, I want to target the processor here. What does the processor do? Execute programs. What are programs? A program is a set of instructions. In the memory, we store programs and data. A question comes to students' minds. How are these programs and data stored? I told you some time back, everything is a series of zeros and ones. Okay, you have to be crystal clear about this. If there is a doubt regarding this, you will not understand anything further. Everything, be it the most beautiful photo, be it the most wonderful memory of your life which you recorded as video, be it your certificates which you have tremendous pride in, 95% in 12th standard, can't take that away from me, marched in the Republic Day Parade of India, New Delhi, I have the video of it. So yeah, your fondest memories, your biggest merits, any information that is stored in your computer, any program that you've written, any app you have so far already created, They are all zeros and ones. Are you clear? And you have to be convinced about it, which I will make you as we go ahead. Look here. The two things that you store in a computer are programs and data. So let's tackle them one by one. Programs. This is how you write programs. These are three different levels. If you write a program, you've all seen programs. Yeah. I've marched the Republic Day now. Don't think about that. Go to my Instagram. You'll see it. You'll see the video. I was in the NCC. I was also in the Sea Cadets. Lot of passion for doing that during college days and school days, basically. And during college became extremely serious. Like I said, 94.33% if I have to be exact. That's how I got my seat in Thadu Malchani, the best college of engineering in Mumbai. Free seat, no reservations, no nothing. Though I am a Sindhi, they had the Sindhi, but didn't want that. I wanted it on my own merit. Anyway, that's a separate thing altogether. Just a lot of pride in what you do and a lot of beliefs in a particular kind of system, how I feel the world should work. Anyway, that's a separate thing altogether. Now let's come back. So yeah, all your achievements and all which are stored as files, they're all zeros and ones. That's the idea. Now, coming back. A is equal to B plus C. If you write your program like this, you are using a language like, this is the syntax of C, Java, VB, Oracle, or basically all the modern languages called the higher level languages. They look like this. You may even write your program as add A comma B. Have you seen something like this? Yeah, this is called assembly level language. If you learned any microprocessor, instructions look like this in that subject. Or if you learned COA in your lower semesters of college. And this is called binary language, also called lower level language, also called machine code, also called object code, different names meaning the same thing. Now, all programs eventually become this. Do we write this? No. Do you think you'll be writing this? You think you'll join those companies and get those fabulous salaries because you're typing zeros and ones? No one. This is not for humans. That's why it's called machine language. You write your program in higher level languages in today's world because they're easy to comprehend. Anybody can understand what's happening here. If you have a problem in understanding this, there is a genuine problem. B plus C, results stored in. They look so similar to basic English that they are very easy to understand. When you write a program in higher level language, you give that program to a software called the compiler. Have you heard of this? What does a compiler do? Interview question. Why do you compile a program? Sir, to check for errors. Leave. You don't compile a program to check for errors. Why do you compile a program? To convert it into machine language. Are you clear? Yes. If you've not written the program correctly, compilation will reveal errors. But your purpose is not to check for errors. The purpose is to make a machine language file out of the file that you have created. Next time you write a C program, when you hit save, you go to the folder, you will see that file name .c being saved. When you compile the program, you have an exact same file name .bin. What is bin? Binary or obj, however your system names it. Anyway, and then the exe file comes which you execute. Anyway, so compilation converts the program into machine language. Similarly, if you write your program in assembly language, especially for the subjects like microprocessors, microcontrollers, you give your program to an assembler. The purpose remains the same, to convert it into machine language. So you write your program either in higher level language or assembly language for the sake of convenience. This is easy to comprehend. This is still pretty easy to comprehend. This is not for humans. This is how it will be stored inside those memory cells which just are created to store zeros and ones. Are you clear? So whatever language you write your program in, either the compiler or the assembler will see to it that they become binary. This binary form of an instruction is called, come on, I've started the word, finish it. Yeah. Opcode. Opcode means the binary code of the operation that you're performing. So every instruction eventually becomes its opcode, and that's how it's stored in the computer's memory. Are you clear? Every instruction has its own unique opcode. So this is how every program, every app that is there in your phone eventually becomes binary. It's either by the compiler or the assembler, depending which language you've written it in. That is programs. What about data? Just like you have programs in a computer, you have data. Data can be of three different types. It can be numeric data, it can be textual data, or it can be media, songs, images, movies, etc. If it's numbers, numeric data, numbers can be converted into binary, which is what you learned in school. You know how to convert a decimal number into binary. It's there in our subject also. I will also teach you. But I'm sure you know that division by 2, convert a hex into binary, just make sets of 4. You know those things, right? So any number can be converted into binary, you know that. Any decimal, hexadecimal number can be converted into binary. So if it's a number data, it straight away becomes binary. If it's text data, like that beautiful message that you get, maybe good, maybe bad, but that message that you get, stop overthinking. That on the screen looks like a message, a textual message, but every character over there has a numerical value. It's called its ASCII code, ASCII, however you want to pronounce it. Different people say it differently, don't mind however you want to say it. So every text character, every key on the keyboard has an ASCII value. So when you get an SMS or a WhatsApp message, what appears to you as a message was not sent like that. It was sent as numbers, a set of ASCII values, and every number is convertible into binary. So even that beautiful text, that word file, the notes, etc., all of this print material eventually has ASCII values which become binary code. So text or numerical values can become binary. Is that clear? Media. Media means songs, images, movies, etc. Think of an image. Suppose I start my camera. My camera is used to record right now. Otherwise, I would have just shown it to you. I start my camera, click capture. I've taken you a beautiful face, a picture of this. How does that become binary? Your screen is divided into rows and columns, creating small intersections called pixels. Pixel means picture element. When you're capturing an image, what are you capturing? The color of every pixel. That's what defines an image. Not whether it is a man standing here or a woman standing here, or it's a green colored dress. Who wears green? A blue colored dress or a black colored dress, or a whatever color suits you. Or whether it's a sky or a boat or a tree is immaterial. What matters is what is the color of every pixel. So when you capture an image, a color of all the pixels is stored as a stream. That is your file, your image file. When you click on that image to show it back on the screen, what are you doing? You're dividing the screen into same number of pixels and one by one plotting these colors. If you plot the exact same colors, you have reproduced the whole image back on the screen. So in effect, what you're storing is not really whether there was a finger over here, or whether there was some text written over here, or whether there was some logo or some name written over here. What you're storing essentially is the color of all the pixels. If you can reproduce the colors back, you can display the image, you can print the image, you can show it on the screen, and so on. So that file is basically just the colors of all the pixels. And when I say colors, is it really storing the names of the colors? Gray, baby pink, blush blue, or whatever? No. What is it storing? A code. Colors are represented as hex codes. There are different coding systems. In computer graphics, you learn that. So those codes are numbers. Those numbers can become binary. So that's how the most beautiful image of the most important person in your life, which looks wonderful and amazing when you look at it on the screen, is actually a series of zeros and ones. So is your image, so is every movie. What is a movie? A set of images. Similarly, even sound gets converted into zeros and ones using A to D and D to A converters. I teach that in embedded systems and microcontrollers because you use them in appliances. An A to D converter, when you speak sound, it goes into the microphone, creates waveforms, voltages. That's analog information. Give it to an A to D converter, it samples every voltage, that's called a sample and hold algorithm, and converts every voltage to a number. That's data, that's digital information. So that's how your song becomes an MP3 file. When you give it back, you use a D to A converter, takes all the data, plots it back as a waveform, gives that waveform to your speaker as voltage, and it produces the sound back to you. So sound, images, movies, all kind of media become zeros and ones. Whether it's text, whether it's numbers, whether it's media, whether it's programs, everything stored in the computer's memory is just a stream of zeros and ones. Now, towards the end of the introduction, just giving you the last few bits, then I'll tell you about the subject, about our course, why you should join it, and what are the benefits of applying my coupon. Come on. Now, instruction. The batch is starting just round the corner. Okay, a program in the memory, programs are stored. The main purpose of the processor is to run programs. Whether you're in Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook, whatever you're in, it's a program. That program is a set of instructions. Where is the instruction? Where are the instructions stored? Secondary, primary, immaterial. Basically, they are stored in the memory. Now you know, from secondary it comes into primary, from primary it comes into cache, from there it goes into L1, but it's basically memory. If the processor has to execute these instructions, first of all, the processor has to take the instructions inside. That taking is called fetch. Every instruction, first of all, needs to be fetched. From where? Memory. Remember these words. No instruction is ever fetched from an IO device. You may type your program on the keyboard, but it's stored as a file in the memory. When you run it, the instructions are fetched from the memory. Is that clear? Your foundation has to be rock solid. Remember this. Fetching always happens from the memory. Which memory is immaterial, but memory can never happen from an IO device. So instruction is fetched. Now it has come inside the processor. Now what will it do? It will execute the instruction. Yes, between fetching and execution, something happens. You can see I have left space. That means something will happen. What is that? Decoding. I think someone just used a silly cloth on this. That's why it's slipping. Anyway, so decoding. Every instruction has to be fetched, decoded, and then executed. Now students understand the fetching part. Students understand the execution part. That's add, subtract, multiply, divide. That's your execution. Students don't understand what is this. What is decoding? Converting the instruction into binary language is called decoding. Rubbish. If that's the answer you gave, that's wrong. The instruction is already in binary. I took the last 10-15 minutes to make you understand no matter what medium you are storing it in, it is stored in binary. Every information, program data is stored in binary. What you have fetched is the binary form. If you remember, what are the binary form of an instruction called? The opcode. So what you have fetched is the opcode. Are you clear? So fetching already gets you the binary form of the instruction. Decoding doesn't mean converting into binary. It is in binary. So what is decoding then? Decoding means what? Tell me. Analyzing the opcode. It's a very sensitive thing, but it's a chapter in our subject. In the control unit, this is what you learn. Encoding and decoding of instructions, and one question from this has come in every paper that I remember. Forgive me if one paper I've forgotten where it didn't come, but from the best of my memory, what I can remember, one question from this is always there. Encoding and decoding of instructions, of opcodes. Pay attention. To tell you in very simple form what this means is, when you have fetched an instruction, you got a binary form of the opcode. The processor needs to analyze this binary form and understand what operation has to be done. Look here, I'll simplify it for you. Suppose there is a very basic processor that does only 4 operations. Add, subtract, go on. Multiply, divide, very nice. If this is a classroom, by now I hear the words multiply and divide, and that's how it should be. I say A, you should be ready with B, C, D. That shows that you too are interested in learning. That's your input is there. Come on. So there's a processor that does only 4 operations, a basic processor. Since it does only 4 operations, it has only 4 instructions. Add, subtract, multiply, divide. And since it has only 4 instructions, there will be only 4 opcodes. Since there will be only 4 opcodes, opcodes will just be 2 bits. Please tell me you understood this. Please tell me 2 bits are enough to give 4 options. Yes or no? 2 bits will give you 4 options such as 0, 0, go on, 0, 1, come on, 1, 0, come on, 1, 1. 0, 0 means add, subtract, multiply and divide. Please tell me, did you understand? So this is your memory. In your memory, this is your program stored. Please answer, your program is stored in which form? Please don't make a mistake. Your program is stored in which form? Binary. Binary means your program is stored like this. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. 1, 1. Now I want you to loud and clear read what your program is. Don't tell me 0, 0, tell me the meaning. Tell me what are these instructions. Add, 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 divide. What you did right now is what is called decoding. What you did right now is decoding. What did you do? You looked here, you analyzed. 0, 0 means add, 0, 0 means add, 0, 0 means add, 1, 1 means divide. What you did is what the computer needs to do. When it fetches the, you understood now. Did you convert in binary? No, it's already in binary. What you did was you analyzed the binary pattern. There are circuits for doing it. This is what the control unit does. If it does it by hardware, it's called a hardwired control unit. If it does by software, it's not called softwired. That's silly publications. I don't know where they got the word from. There is no softwire. If it does by software, it's called a microprogram control unit. Wilkie's design, 1 step, 2 step, single address, dual address field, etc. You learn all that in detail in the subject. I'm giving you the introduction. So what the control unit does is, Once the instruction has been fetched, it analyzes the opcode using a table like this, using a circuit, and then figures out what the operation is. To show you a circuit form of this in case you want to see, look here. Look here. So this is your memory, this is your processor. You fetch the instruction, you got a 2-bit opcode, correct? In the processor, there is an ALU inside, okay? It has a circuit for doing add, for subtract, for multiply, for divide. The ALU can do all these 4 operations. It has a 2:4 decoder. What does a 2:4 decoder do? Even if you've not learned decoders, come on, use your God-given brain. What does a 2:4 decoder do? It decodes, which means it understands, it listens. There are 2 inputs, there are 4 possible outputs. If the inputs are 0, 0, it will trigger the circuit. 0, 1, it will trigger the circuit. 1, 0, it will trigger the circuit. 1, 1, it will trigger the circuit. That's how add comes here, subtract comes here, multiply comes here, divide comes here. This is fetch, this is decode, this is execute. Is that clear? That is your instruction cycle. Like this, one by one, fetch, decode, execute, fetch, decode, executes happens. Of course, this is the most basic manifestation of this. If the processor can do 8 instructions, there will be a 3-bit opcode, bigger decoder. 16 instructions, 4-bit opcode, even bigger decoder. 1000 instructions like a modern computer, it won't have a 10:1024 decoder. Then it will do it by software. Then it becomes a microprogram control unit, much easier to manage than so many circuit connections and much easier to change and upgrade. Anyway, that's how your processor upgrades, your OS upgrades, your root OS upgrades, and so on. Anyway, we'll come to that later. And then you have simulation, one emulation, one processor working like the other. If you have a microprogram control unit, those are the benefits comes with different kinds of processors. Coming back, so you understand the cycle of fetch, decode, execute. That's what happens inside the processor. In the processor, there are 2 main parts, the control unit and the ALU. The control unit does the fetching and decoding part, and the ALU does the execution. The best part, the part that we start from, the numerical part of the subject. ALU does execution, add, subtract, multiply, divide, and beyond. Now, students say, sir, in mathematics, we do very powerful operations like log, trigonometry, square roots, factorials. And in college in COA, they kept teaching us adder circuit, adder circuit. Why are we looking at adder circuit when the real operations are so complex? Yes, that question comes to the mind if the connection is not established, if students don't know why they are learning it. Look here. As you understand mathematics and operations, you realize all powerful operations like log, trigonometry, exponentials, factorials, etc., square roots and all of them basically are a series of multiply and divide. Do you agree? All those big operations can be brought down into a series of multiplications and divisions. So there is no circuit to calculate tan. There are circuits to calculate add, subtract, multiply, divide. If you can do multiply, divide, you can calculate tan and you can calculate those various things. Let's go one step deeper. No multiplier really multiplies. No divider really divides. Multiplication and division are a series of repeated additions and subtractions. There are algorithms to make it better, not just 5 into 4 is not 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. Come on. Science has gone far better. There's something called Booth's algorithm, which can do the job in much lesser operations. You do 1000 into 1000 by repeated additions, you'll require 1000 steps. Booth's algorithm will give you the answer in 10 steps. I'm being exact. Okay, and the refined Booth's algorithm even faster. Anyway. Then you have restoring and non-restoring division. So these algorithms break down multiply and divide into simply addition and subtraction. So I repeat, no multiplier really multiplies, no divider really divides. It's basically a series of additions and subtractions. Let's go one step deeper. There is no subtractor in the world. Subtraction is done by addition of 2's complement. I'll show you in circuit, in theory, in calculation, everything. Subtraction is addition of 2's complement. So you don't need a subtractor. An adder can also do subtraction, which means everything finally boils down to an adder. All that an ALU has is an adder and then group together in various circuits to do subtraction, to do multiplication, to do division, and to do all complex operations, which basically boil down to an adder circuit. That's the reason why you learned half adders, full adders, serial adder, ripple carry adder, carry look ahead adder. It's all adders because adders do everything. Students ask this, sir, teach me how to do tan. No, there is no circuit in the world that does tan. That circuit eventually does just additions. Tan, log, cos are multiplications and divisions, which are nothing else but additions and subtractions, which again is nothing else but just addition. Are you clear? You understand an adder, you understand the core of the ALU. Like you understand a capacitor and a flip-flop, you understand the core of RAM. You understand lands and pits, you understand the core of a CD. You understand poles, you understand the core of a hard disk. Once you understand the core, just build around it and you have your object in place. Are you clear? So when you learn ALU, the only real circuits you learn are adder circuits, and then combining them using algorithms, you can do whatever calculation you want. And to understand that, your concept of number systems has to be crystal clear. So that's where I start the subject from, apart from this introduction, of course. You start really learning the subject by understanding numbers. If you know how to represent a number, that's the first step that you have crossed. That itself is a question in GATE. They give you very interesting numbers and tell you, show the binary pattern, including 0 in floating point numbers. Very interesting question, how you get its pattern and so on. It's all zeros, but there's a science behind it, how sine, exponent, mantis, everything becomes zeros. Anyway, we'll come to it when the topic comes. So, now that I have given the whole introduction, this is your instruction cycle, your processor has your control unit and your ALU. This is your syllabus. Come, pay attention. I'm winding the lecture now. The official GATE syllabus. ALU, first we'll see how numbers are represented, both fixed and floating point, and see the data path, how there are registers and they feed the numbers into the ALU and the basic circuit of the ALU, which mainly involves adder circuits. Then you go to the control path, you learn the control unit. That is this part of the processor. So ALU and control unit are both inside the processor. That's where you spend the maximum time. In the control unit, you learn machine instructions, the encoding of instructions, how opcodes and instructions are created, the decoding, how control unit works, how instructions are formatted. That is where addressing modes come, the way in which operands are given, numerous addressing modes with examples of different processors. Pipelining, single-handedly the biggest interesting technology that's made, the biggest contributor to increasing the speed of computers. Computers 10 years back, 15 years back were ridiculously slow as compared to what you see today. No, operating frequency has not changed. No, bus sizes are not changed. What has changed is pipelining gets deeper and more parallelism, giving you high performance. So one single factor that's making computers faster with every release is a deeper pipeline. So you learn pipelining. It's a whole PhD subject by itself. In fact, a branch of it, pipelining hazards, is a whole PhD subject itself. It's that advanced. And you learn a lot of it in COA, especially for GATE. When you learn COA for college, you don't learn pipelining to that level. You don't solve the numericals to that level when you're learning for something like GATE, because you surely expect a question from this in the exam. Very hard to find a paper which doesn't have a question, a numerical question on pipelining. Then comes memory, because it's a technology that's driving all the GPUs, etc. It's pipelining that's making them so fast. So you need to learn pipelining, understand its hazards, its drawbacks, how to overcome them, and so on. Then memory, I just told you the whole memory hierarchy, its characteristics, cost per bit, access time, numericals on that, main memory, secondary storage, cache memory, each one that I showed you, you go inside them, learn the theory, have very good MCQ, MSQ questions based on its theory, and very interesting numericals based on its access time, cache sizes, replacement policies, and so on. Lastly, you come to I/O, where I give you a brief idea of DMA, which means transferring data directly between memory and I/O. That's a technology you learn, very interesting, and interrupts. So when a processor deals with I/O device, you have keyboard, you have mouse. Now think about it. Each time you type a key on the keyboard, the processor should read it. It shouldn't be that you're going on typing and the processor is sleeping. No. Processor should be alert. So one option, processor keeps checking the keyboard. Did you press a key? Did you press a key? Is a key pressed? Suppose I move my hands very close to the keyboard. Will the processor get excited? Will it start checking the keyboard faster? No. Processor doesn't know when you're going to press a key. Processor doesn't check. Instead, every time you press a key, the keyboard interrupts the processor, and that's when the processor gets the data. This is called interrupt-driven I/O. Every movement of the mouse, every touch on the touch screen, every call that comes on your phone, every time you touch the trackpad of your laptop, all of these are interrupts. In response, processor goes to the ISR and reads the data. The advantage of this method is if you're not touching the keyboard, even the processor is not wasting its time. It's doing its own thing. Having said that, every time you touch the keyboard or every time you press a key, the processor gets an interrupt and reads that data. So that's the technology of interrupts in a nutshell. If the processor has to check them, that's called polling. Polling means asking. But that wastes a lot of time. Instead, the processor says, I will not check anyone. You interrupt me whenever you require service. So devices interrupt the processor. So in the I/O section, we learn. I/O section is very big when you learn from college point of view. Then you learn everything about polling, synchronous, async data, and so many things. But in GATE syllabus, your I/O section is mainly focused on interrupts, various types, masking, unmasking, maskable, non-maskable, edge triggered, level triggered, vectored, non-vectored. There are various types of interrupts. You learn those. And you learn DMA where you get numericals. DMA is both theory as well as numericals, data transfer rates, etc. Again, you expect one question from this, you expect two questions from this, two questions from this, two questions at least from this, maybe going to third. Now, when I say so many, you will say, sir, it crosses 10 marks, of course, because some of this is also included in the DL subject. Some of this is also included in the OS subject, but I will teach you because that's how you understand the whole picture. So that's what when I started the lecture, I said the range will be 12 to 15 marks in the exam from everything that I teach you. Now, this was your syllabus. Now talking about our batch, we are starting this new batch in Unacademy. This whole group of teachers, we got together, created this whole course of GATE for you. This batch starting from 21st Feb, just round the corner, is targeted for students who are mainly planning to take GATE next year. You may even be an early riser and planning for GATE 27. Wonderful. But essentially, you want to take GATE in 26. I always tell students, give yourself 1 year. It gives you complete time to learn, practice, revise, practice, and then hit the exam. You get a high score, a very high score. I will train you to the extent that you can get full marks in everything in terms of my subject, because like I said, I will solve every question that has come in the last 20 GATE papers and more, not only those and more. So you are thoroughly equipped to handle anything that comes your way. Anyway, so our batch is starting on 21st Feb. This is an English batch. मैं हिंदी में भी पढ़ा सकता हूँ, मेरे लिए दोनों लैंग्वेजेस उतने ही कंफर्टेबल है. हिंदी का भी बैच आएगा, वो 1-2 हफ्ते बाद चालू होएगा, उसका डेटा भी अनाउंस नहीं हुआ है. But if you could understand the lecture so far, take the English batch, start. Don't wait, don't delay it. The beauty of Unacademy is very different from anybody else. Once you have taken this course, you have access to not just this batch, to all batches for this year. So we may start one more batch in April, we may start one more batch in May, we may start a last minute batch in December. You have access to all Hindi, English, doesn't matter. You have access not only to all the live lectures, you have access to all the recorded videos. So you miss a lecture due to some college commitment, no problem. The recorded version is there. Catch up in the next lecture, be with the class. Are you clear? You have access to all the notes, everything. These are our rankers from 24. 25 result is going to come next month, mid-March. 24, these are our rankers showing you what we are doing. When I said I will train you to get full marks, I was not exaggerating. It's a firm belief. When you cover everything that is there in the syllabus, including the periphery, where I go into a little bit of DS, into a little bit of OS. Why I do that? To ensure that no matter what comes, you are secure. And like I said, the difference between a person who's taught a camera and taught students in the class is the variety of approach you can take to understand the same topic, which is essential when you're preparing for something like GATE, because the questions will never be straightforward. It will come from a completely different corner, hitting the same topic. And when you have covered all that in classrooms, in teaching for so many years, your subject is so open as a teacher, and that's what you teach to the students. So that's where the difference matters. This whole group of teachers that we have teaching in this batch are the ones who have taught for many years in classroom. Best teachers in India for their respective subjects. You trust what I'm saying? Believe me when I say this, I've met all of them. So I've got this opportunity of being connected with some or the other educational tech company over the years. I've been receiving calls. Some I reject on the first call itself. Some went into a further few meetings. But when you realize that the core goal is more commerce than education, you get disconnected, because I've never been like that. If you understood the whole lecture and you've seen any of my reviews, you know what I'm talking about. With this panel, with this group, I had several meetings and I was extremely satisfied. People who teach from their heart, whose goal is to educate. Of course, there is commerce, without it can't work. But the goal is to educate students and have this whole kitty of experience of teaching in classes, in colleges for many, many years. That's when a teacher has really the refined knowledge that he and she needs to impart the education to you. So the best of the teachers for their respective subjects, for CN, for C programming, DSA, for OS, for digital logic, for mathematics, fantastic teachers. You cannot learn any better way these subjects with this vast experience and the synergy that we have, and the whole method, the approach that we are taking. 2 subjects will start on 21st. As they get over, 2 more subjects will start. As they go get over, 2 more will start. You miss any subject, there are other batches that are started midway. You can continue into those batches, come back to our batches, watch the recorded lectures, see to it that you have everything that you want. Now, the link for joining the course is in the description. That link comes with my coupon. Even if you see there my coupon is not there, add the coupon over there at the coupon entry box and you get 2 things. A 60% discount that comes by adding my coupon. You become my student, and more importantly, a promise, a contract that I had with Unacademy. I came with this condition. When I am teaching you COA, I am stepping into a lot of microprocessors, because I'll use them as examples. A lot of microcontrollers, modern processors like ARM, which a student should know, because this is what is taking the world forward. I know I will ignite the fire in you to learn these subjects. I'm not doing it for the first time. I know what I'm saying. I have made this commitment with Unacademy that I've got this commitment from them that they will not charge you for any of these courses if you have taken the GATE course from me as my student. I don't want you to again pay, because I know I'm igniting that fire in you. As a pure commerce basis, yes, go ahead, buy these courses. You can individually take these courses, each of them cost 1500 rupees. But no, if you've taken the GATE course from me using my coupon code, you get free access to all my other courses, which means everything that I know is for you to learn. Everything that I teach, you have free access to all those college courses, which will help you tremendously if you have these subjects in your respective semesters. And even if you didn't, all of these are what they will ask you during your interviews. So you have access to all of them, not just the videos, the whole PDFs, the MCQs, the Viva questions, everything that I teach, you have access to it till the time your GATE course is active. Are you clear? Batches are starting from 21st. You understood this whole lecture, you understood this whole introduction. If you feel, yes, this is where I want to learn COA from and master the subject, come click on the link, enroll and start learning. What you see here, the same slides, many people say, sir, over here everything looks fantastic, you're teaching in this screen. When you're teaching on that board, on the screen, how will it look? It's the exact same slides that I will be using. It's a similar kind of pen that I'll be using. The interface will be just the same, whether you're learning it here or you're learning it in the course through the app. Are you clear? Hope to see you there. Wish you all the best. Do well.